Welcome to the Church Sound Podcast, part of the Repurpose Network, where kingdom culture, real life, and technology intersect. I'm your host, Prentice Thompson, and what we do, we talk to real people, pastors, leaders, engineers, tech people, manufacturers, worship leaders, all about church, technology, and provide solutions for a successful Sunday morning service. You ready? It's time to take a ride. Let's go. Yes, and welcome to another edition of the Church Sound Podcast. You know, I love you and you guys applaud. It makes me feel it's so sensitive deep down in my soul, deep down in my shando, deep down here. You know, when you guys are clapping, and for me, even though it's man-made, I'll take it. Anyway, thank you for joining the Church Sound Podcast. Listen, I just want you guys to do one thing: like, subscribe, review before we even get started. You know, people don't know the tracks in the background is made by the kid here. You know, the tracks in the back is made by the kid. This ain't no stock track. You ain't gonna find this nowhere. This is all original flavor. Hey, listen, thank you for joining. So, I always have a special guest. You know that. Every guest is special, but not every guest is to have a return. It's like the playoffs, you know what I mean? You know, 3 out of 4, 4 out of 3, whatever it is. It's like the playoffs. So I got a special guest, my special guest, Alesia Hedley. She is the queen of social media. She a hustler, y'all. Like she a hustler. Welcome back to the Church Sound Podcast.
Hey, my brother, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be back. You know, them tracks always get me grooving too. It's always a good time, man.
Facts and super facts. I really appreciate that. You know, I got a lot of response from when you were on with the social media piece, and we touched on your history,
yep.
And then we dived into social media. And like right now, it's really the Wild Wild West in a lot of regards, on especially with hashtagging and all these things that's changed.
Yeah.
And why and how and some myriad of questions. So with social media, you know, you got your social networking sites, you got your image-based sites, you got your video sharing, you got your discussion forums, you have your blogs, and all these things play a part in the definition of social media. How do you define it?
Ooh, how do I define social media? I kind of put it under the umbrella of social networking, right? Like, utilize that to connect with the people you want to connect with, right? Networking is the foundation of building something amazing, right? Whether that's building a brand, building a business, networking is kind of like this traffic road to always having some kind of movement within a pipeline. So when I'm thinking about social media, I'm like, my social network, right? And when we realize the power of our actual networks and be able to tap into those networks, we can take our own personal brands and businesses and churches to another level. So it's always interesting to look at social media, right? There's a bunch of definitions and all of that kind of stuff, but I personally look at it as a wealthy network.
So when we talk about networking, that in our regard, which is how we met, networking, right?
Yep.
Which leads to relationship, you know, those are all things that tie into those things. And then we get to define like what level of the relationship is, right?
Absolutely.
So in social media, like I look at it like this. There are people who are friends who are real, and there are people who are just looking. And then there are people who are just watching. When I say watching, I mean people who don't like nothing.
Yeah. It's always lurkers.
They don't like, yeah, right. They don't like anything, right? They don't like anything. But it's funny when you talk to people and they say, "Hey, man, oh, that thing you put up was so dope, man. I really was inspired by it." And you look and it's like you ain't like it.
Yep.
You ain't like it, and you ain't share it. So my question is, how do you get people to engage on social media? Because it's because it's those three. It's kind of like the inner circle, the outer circle, or the outer circle.
Yep.
But they all seem the same thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one thing is what I started off early before I had a decent amount of followers, because it's not like I have hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm technically what most people would call like a micro influencer, right? Because I have a couple of thousand here and there across platforms, but I don't have hundreds of thousands, right? So when I first started, where I was at a couple of hundred, and the three people that was liking it, I would always write them in a comment. Thank you, right? When can we meet up? Or thank you. What'd you think of it, right? Actively taking the time out to engage, just as if I was an in person networking event, shaking hands. What do you do? How are you doing? How can we help each other, right? It's the same exact thing. Showing up how I show up in a real event versus social media, it's pretty much the same. So yeah, there's those lurkers or whatever, but forget them. They're gonna lurk. They're gonna continue to lurk too. You're gonna blow up and they still gonna be lurking. That's just how it goes. That's just how it goes. But those 3 people or the 10 people or the 20 people or the 100 people that interact with you, make sure you engage with them and let them know that they're appreciated. And the algorithm likes that. They like engagement. Likes is one thing, but comments and interaction is a booster.
Really?
Not only for an algorithm, but for people, right? It's kind of like that. Oh, yay! People are talking to me.
Oh, you see me. You see me.
Yeah, I see you, man. We love engaging with each other.
Right.
So
You
it's
know
easy.
what? That can be easily lost when we're
Oh yeah.
all viewers. You know
Oh
what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Oh yeah.
Where it's not intentional.
Mm-hmm.
What you're talking about is something that is intentional, meaning that it's a thought process, meaning that it's a why behind what you're doing.
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, I'm kind of alert. We're all lurkers to an
We
extent.
all play a degree on someone's
Right? We
feed,
all scroll in and we
scroll
all
through.
have the people we love to watch, but we might not like it, whatever the case is. We all play into that kind of mentality at some point. But also, something else that I do intentionally is make sure I comment. Even if that person has 100,000 followers and I know they ain't ever going to write me back because they got too many comments. Oh, well, somebody else on that comment list saw me. Maybe we have something in common. Maybe they'll find me and boom, right? Or maybe that person only has 5 followers and I get to engage with them and then we meet up at a show. Next thing we know, we're doing a podcast, we're doing a panel, right? Like it's all the same thing. I don't care if you have 100,000 followers or 3 followers. That level of engagement needs to be consistent and intentional.
So let's take that from in terms of an organization
Mm-hmm.
and an individual.
Yes.
You know, because to me those are major differences
They
because
really are.
and how would you define that what I just described?
Right. So if we're talking about an organization, it sounds different, but it's really not. Whoever's running the social media for an organization or for a church needs to know the tone, right? What's the tone we want to carry? Is it empathy? Is it excitement? Is it super conservative? Is it fun? Like we need to know what we represent and how we represent from an organization or church standpoint. Whoever is heading that needs to be able to convey that. And also, there still needs to be a level of engagement, right? It's kind of like, oh, we have a bad experience at a restaurant. We get on Twitter and say, oh, hey, that sucked, right?
Right.
maybe the restaurant will write back and say, hey, we're sorry, come back again, right? Or from a church perspective, say we're engaging with live content. Somebody in the audience is saying, oh, hey, we can't hear the lead singer's microphone. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we need to engage with that person. Thank you for letting us know. We will get that fixed. How does it sound now? Right? We need to make people feel engaged in the actual experience, even if you're an organization or a church. You still got to engage.
Right.
Don't
Right.
be afraid to engage from a company or an organization or a church profile.
You heard that, right? That was a bar. She just dropped the bar. You heard that, right?
I mean, you have to be
heard that.
mindful,
She
right?
said, don't be afraid to engage. That was, that was like a triple entendre. You know what I'm saying? Like,
It's true. I mean, when being behind company profiles or organization profiles, church profiles, you kind of get that nervousness, like, oh, let me not say nothing wrong,
right.
But you have to do it. it breaks down a barrier. People get comfortable. You build trust with people who are engaging with you, and then the algorithm sees that, and you level up.
I fall short. You know, I fall
Hey,
short.
we all fall
I,
short.
I fall short in that regard. The funny thing is that, so when people look at my, all right, so this is what I've been getting
Okay,
over the last 6 months.
okay,
That's 6 to 8 months. So what I've been getting is like, so when we met at the show,
right.
which I'm going to be speaking at in the one in Louisville. So
Congratulations, I saw that.
yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. So I'm super excited and nervous at the same time. But anyway, at that show, I got like maybe 100 followers in like in a day.
Yep.
Then it was only because I was talking to people. You know, I was talking to people. I would attend, you know, these workshops and ask questions and, you know, about people, whatever.
Yep.
And at Doug Cool's course, at his workshop, he told me, he said, "Hey, listen, can you stand up and tell people what you do?" And I was like, okay. And then I just threw it out there. I was like, okay, so engagement, I got that side of engagement. So then I thought about it and I said, okay, I need to revamp my imaging, because that seems to be the attention grabber, especially as a podcaster.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially as a podcaster, that you're trying to disseminate information at the same time, be entertaining.
Right.
So I redid my background. I put in my cameras and, you know, just kind of, and people started paying attention. People that would never call me were starting like, "Hey man, like, I see you stepped your game up."
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, I'm saying the same things, right? So I'm saying the same things,
Yep.
but it's the image
Yep.
that attracts people. So then I thought about it and I said, you know what? If the eye shot just that fast, if you're scrolling through social media and something is quality and they see it, they're gonna stop even if they don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, especially with talking heads, right? Yeah, it's hard to accomplish that with talking heads, and everybody's got a podcast, right? So the image quality is definitely something that'll stand out, especially if everybody's watching something with the sound off.
Mm,
You know, that's
that's
why I hit
true.
you up like, hey man, I need to get my background like yours. I'm falling short. You know, we all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and we all level up. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? But
right,
you're right. You put in the work. People saw that you invested in yourself, and the people who didn't know you back then, before you got to this point, just random people that are scrolling, you automatically caught their eye. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Taking the time to invest in yourself and engage in your own self has a big play in growing the audience as well.
Correct. And even deeper, when we look at it from like an individual and an organizational
Mm-hmm.
thing, when you're talking about tone,
Yeah.
Tone goes along with image.
Yep.
Tone goes along with not just your talking points, but how it's portrayed, like when the sound's off.
Yep.
It's funny that you say that, is because I'm a film director, right?
Yep.
Amongst the other things that I do. So I'm a film director, and how I watch movies is with the sound off, because I like to see how people shoot.
Right.
So I watch how people shoot. I go, oh, my wife, I drive her crazy. I go, oh wow, oh, that's a dope shot. Huh? Who shot Bill? Did somebody get shot? You know,
Right.
can
Absolutely.
you bring it back? I said, no. It's the actual shot. So I watch stuff like that, so that especially if it's a director I really like,
Yeah.
and they don't even have to be a popular director. I may have been witness to their work, and I'm like,
Yep.
man, I like how they shoot. I like their camera angles. I like how they tell the story without telling the story. So
Yep.
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Same thing with podcasting. You know what I'm saying? Take the video away. Does the audio tell a story? You know, most people listening to podcasts, they driving somewhere. But nowadays, a lot of people are watching the video, right? Because it's video content. It just depends on the audience.
Right.
But the story is what matters. You know, how is the story moving and, you know, transitioning and really heightening the story you're trying to elevate.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. I was like on YouTube yesterday uploading a video, right?
Right.
So I hit the upload button and I seen this button that I've never seen before.
Okay.
It is said podcast.
Yep.
What the world?
Yep.
When did this happen?
I think it happened like end of last year, top of the year officially. Like
I never saw it.
It rolled out beta on YouTube. But I mean, that's an easy way for content creators. Most of us have podcasts of some sort. YouTube was losing a bulk of that content to other platforms that was doing just audio or that could do both, right? So YouTube was like, hey, well, we might as well make podcasts too. Everybody's podcast is on our platform already. You know, they realized that they were missing out on an opportunity.
So when you say opportunity, are you talking about just being able to search podcasts within YouTube and find podcasts as published podcasts through YouTube because you have a channel? Is that what you're saying?
Both, right? Both, because some creators weren't putting their podcasts onto YouTube, maybe because it was all audio, so they would use Apple Podcasts or Spotify, whatever the case is. Now, if you're a true YouTube content creator, you can have your videos and also your podcast living on one platform. I was like, about time. I was like, about time. Joe Budden's been on I was watching his YouTube, channel and his podcast on there forever, but still it was with, he went from Spotify, Apple Music. So now technically you could leverage YouTube and all of your videos in one place. Not saying that people will, because Spotify and Apple Music aren't going anywhere, but it's just another place to kind of have all of your content in one form outside of a website.
So I say this in regards to, like, say a church. That's our audience, right?
Yep.
Pastors, individuals, and
absolutely.
church organizations, things of that nature.
Hey, pastor.
So, hey, pastor. You gotta drop the T, pastor. You gotta say it like that.
Hey, pastor.
Pastor Brown here. Lord have mercy. Lord, Pastor Brown here.
Oh, man.
I'd like to know something there, young lady. I'd like to know something.
You crack me up with that, man. That's us church kids. But yes, go ahead.
So, in regards to, especially when you're looking at podcasting in churches, like, this is kind of what I'm going to be talking about at these couple of conferences I'm speaking at. I'm talking about podcasting beyond the church and how to utilize it.
Right.
And social content is so huge because it kind of gets people to the full episode, if you will.
Right.
So now everyone wants to call me and page me. Why do I have this thing on? Forgive me, Lord. Anyway, so I know I'm completely nuts right now. So, all right, let me close some windows here. Okay, not the doors, just the windows. So,
all things going on.
Everything's going on at the same time.
Yep.
So in regards to that social content, and say church services, and I'm going deeper with a sermon. So I came up with this concept. Let me know what you think.
Yep.
I'm going to talk about it. So I was talking to a church about their podcast, right?
Yep.
And their podcast was what? The Message.
Okay.
And so I was telling them, I said, well, the way you can stretch out or go deeper, kind of what we're doing now with social media, is, okay, so how about you and someone in your church or just a person sit down and then talk about the message personally.
Yep.
To go along with Sunday.
Yep.
And then take that and use that as social media content. Because now it's what my mom would, because my mama would eat the chicken, and I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay.
I got to say that, I got 3 points. We're going somewhere with this.
All right.
So when I was a kid, and my mom would look at my after I ate my food, and I would have meat I would never finish everything on the chicken bone.
Right.
My mom would take my chicken, and I look at her, and her bones be white. She didn't suck everything. So that's what I mean. Forgive me, Lord. So that's what I mean when I say getting the most out of it.
Right.
So you can now stretch it out. Then you can say, okay, now how about I have the youth pastor do the same thing for the youth. So now you're getting it at 3 different levels. You're getting it at the church level, sermon level. You're getting that the personal level from the pastor's perspective. You're getting it from a younger person's perspective. And now say, okay, so now you want to get more out of it. What if you did a devotional on it for the week?
Yep.
Those are 4 levels of content that you can create just based around one sermon, but it's all about the work to be able to create the content.
I think the biggest underutilized tool in social media is repurposing content. You know what I'm saying? They'll take that sermon, they're going to put it up as a podcast and think they're going to gain some new members or get some engagement, right? But why?
Right.
That one time there's hundreds of thousands of people online. That one time you posted it, maybe 5, maybe 100, maybe 1,000 saw it, right? But all right, there's still a lot of people who to grasp. So when you break it down like that, that gives that one piece of content evergreen. It turns into an evergreen piece of content, right? Because 9 times out of 10, the sermon or the message isn't just, it's a timeless thing. Just like the Bible is timeless, right? Utilize that sermon all year round. Break it down into snippets. Like you said, and when you get the youth pastor involved, the children involved, members involved, talking about their perspectives, that's engagement, right? So when you post that on Instagram, then somebody who is looking at Church of Laugh, maybe that becomes a part of their feed, and they're like, oh man, this sounds like a church, or maybe something I want to watch on my free time. Or maybe instead of going to this church, maybe I'll go to this church on Sunday. You never know. Or it might just touch that person. Next thing you know, they bless you because they were touched, right? They gave an offering, the Lord led them to do it, whatever the case might be. But that's how you reach more people. That's how you actually engage, which brings us back to the level of engagement, which is what you need.
Right. So those of you who are listening, I need you to do this one thing for me, like this week. I want you to practice some of the things my sister's talking about commenting. Comment, respond, message, say thank you, appreciate your comment. Or if you see something you like that you thought that you could appreciate, comment on it as well. Because from what you're telling me, all levels of engagement is engagement.
Absolutely. If you notice all right, we're talking to the church folks, right? We got those, I don't like to call them Instagram pastors, but right, you have those few pastors that are very heavy on Instagram, right?
Amen, sister. Amen.
And did you notice that they all follow each other? You ever watching it and then you see the next 3 big ones have liked it as well? Because it's a vortex of content and engagement.
Right.
They not like, oh, don't like my stuff because my member's going to see your members and my member's going to like. They realize that it's an algorithm, right? They're all commenting and engaging, and all of these members and people in Christ and people who are not in Christ, right? It's all out on the World Wide Web. They're all building off of the algorithm that way.
Yeah. You said something that I think a lot of people probably don't know the definition of.
What's that?
And it's called evergreen. We're not talking about a color. We're not talking about a color. It's not in a paint can. So don't go to Lowe's. Don't go to Home Depot. Say, that young lady told me to get some evergreen. I came here to get the evergreen.
Come on, Pastor.
They said I need the evergreen from my social media. I want to put it in the background now. The evergreen. The evergreen. It's for evergreen. That's what I thought it said. So explain what is evergreen.
Evergreen, the best way I could explain it is timeless, right? Like it doesn't have, it's not connected to a certain date, a certain place necessarily. It has a endless lifespan.
Got you.
And 9 times out of 10, a sermon does have that, unless the pastor is very specific, like it's Easter Sunday, or they're talking about resurrection. And honestly, that could go across the whole entire year. It does, you could talk about the resurrection of Christ all year around.
Right.
So that's what I mean about evergreen content, something that is completely timeless.
So I'm gonna say 4 things, and I need you to give me definitions of them. Okay.
Dang, man, I didn't bring my dictionary.
You got it. It's all up there. Trust me, it's all up there. Alicia, come on now. You the sharpest knife in the drawer over here.
All right. Hit me with them.
Okay. So there are four things that happen on social media that we're all familiar with. Those of you who have a phone, computer, iPad, tablet, whatever. What is a story?
A story is a short form piece of content that is either, you can find it on Facebook, Instagram. It actually used to be on LinkedIn, but they don't do it anymore. They're very short snippets that you share to your profile that people within your network can see, unless you hashtag it, because then people outside of your network might see it because they're searching for that hashtag.
So it's good to use a hashtag on stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Because say I go to Instagram right now and hashtag the Church Sound Podcast, you're going to come up. You might not be my friend, but I heard about this community. I heard about this guy who always talking about Pastor Smith, So I went and looked it up, and there you are, right? You're going to pop up. I mean, if most churches, they've seen the growth within hashtags, and they use that to build community. So I think that's a good way to engage for sure.
So moving on to the next, it's the same format. They're called reels.
Reels, yes.
So what is the difference between reels and stories?
A reel is also a short form piece of content that could be extended just a little bit longer than a story, actually, but it lives on your profile, right? So your story is going to disappear within 24 hours. That reel is going to live as long as it's on your actual page.
Similar to a post.
Similar to a post, yes.
So this is. I mean, I know the answer. So those people are out there that don't know. I'm just looking around. There's people out there that don't know. So if you're behind me, you don't know. I'm here for you. I'm going to ask the dumb questions. Okay.
We got you.
I'm here for you. So like I'm going to be the crash test dummy today. I got my helmet on and everything. I'm going to run it to the wall. So why would someone have a reel and a post? Or is it one or the other is better, or which one should we go with from the Church of Laughter? So say it there.
Yeah. From this day and age, you should do a reel, because that reel is also evergreen, right? It's not disappearing within 24 hours. So I say you create the reel, hashtag it up, maybe tag some people that might be involved within the reel as well. And then once you have the reel, then you can share it to your story, so even those people within your network know that you posted something new.
So should you share the reel and the story in the same day, or should you do it on a different day?
I've seen people do it both. You have to see what works. The algorithm is always changing. So I mean, one time create a reel, maybe an hour later post it in your story, see how it does. Maybe the next day or 2 days later you post another reel, and then you don't post it into your story until a day later. You have to figure out what works for you, because honestly, every profile is different.
Right.
And the algorithm is just, I don't know.
Constantly
it's constantly changing. So you have to try to constantly do new things.
So someone approached me and told me, like, said, well, listen, before reels became a thing, it was posts, right?
Yep.
And the minimum hashtags was 30.
Yep.
I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still true with reels?
I believe so. But for me, I always stuck to 5. I mean, early on in the game of Instagram, I was hitting closer to that 30 mark. But I'm like, if I can't hit my target people in 5 hardcore hashtag/umbrella topics, then I'm just casting a wide net, right? I figured I had to narrow down a little bit, especially since the industry I'm in is very narrow, niche, right? I was
Right.
like, I gotta slim it down. When you're just throwing a bunch of hashtags out there, it might or may not help.
Right. So how does one, if you're a church,
Hmm.
how would you select the best hashtags? And how do you do that anyway? How do you find out what hashtag works for you as an individual pastor, whatever,
Hmm.
content creator, whatever you are, church, organization, like?
Do your research, right? Look at the pages that you follow. Like I said, some of those 3 passes that we see on Instagram, I guarantee you they've all used the same hashtags at one point in time until they got past the point where they didn't have to use them or they felt they didn't need them.
Right.
Look into profiles that you love and lurk on every single day. Pay attention to what others are doing because the model is out there. It's my one of my good friends. He always said, we're not reinventing the wheel. We just putting spinners on it. Like,
Mm,
right.
yeah. True.
Every church, every Christian church has got a communion
Mm-hmm.
plate of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do it the way you do it.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a model out there that you can follow, and then you sprinkle your own little tone into it, right? You sprinkle your own little branding into it, your own feel, your own excitement, whatever that might feel and look like. But yeah, research the pages that you lurk on all day, every day.
Right.
There's a model out there.
Got you. So I'm going to throw something on you real quick.
Do it. I'm ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
So this is the first time I'm saying this to all my listeners out there. September 12th, we are launching the Repurpose Podcast Network.
Ooh, okay.
September 12th is the launch date. So I'm the CEO of the Repurpose Podcast Network, and I'm now meeting with a social media specialist, and we're going to do role play.
Okay.
So, hello, Alesia. I heard a lot about you. I'm starting an organization. I don't know where to start on social media. I already started the page. If you research it, Repurpose Podcast Network on Instagram, you'll see it. Nothing's on it right now because it's in its symbiotic stage. What do you suggest I do? What should be on this page?
Video content. Absolutely. Video content. Now, what are your 3 pillars that you are trying to convey to your audience of what you do?
The pillars are is Black creators, Christian faith, edutainment.
Edutainment. What does that mean?
Edutainment means entertainment that's educating, that has educational values. So you're being entertained and getting information. So edutainment.
And how do you plan to do that? Skits of some sort, maybe?
It could be that. It could be that. Yeah, it could. That's a possibility.
All right.
Yeah.
So that pillar should be something short, simple, straight to the point, right? Funny, educating, call it quits, right? The faith-based community. How are you going to touch base with them? Are you going to are you a pastor? Are you going to have a message? What's that point of view?
It's not going to be a message. My idea is faith within culture. So be able to have faith within the topic. You know what I mean? So say it's cooking, or say it's, it doesn't have to be specifically, well, I'm a Christian cook. It's my greens are saved. I soak them in the holy water. No, it's not that.
Oh.
It's that. It's that.
Stop. I can't right now. Okay.
You're not safe around me. Like no one's safe. No one's safe around me. So.
Okay.
So that as a, so like real estate. Like I have a guy doing a real estate show. He's a Christian, but he does real estate. So within his message of real estate, there's a message like of Christ, or whatever, or not, or maybe you research him and find out that he is a believer. Like
Gotcha. So
So it's faith in culture.
Faith in success, culture success, right?
Right.
Make sure you tell the story of how those verticals align with the faith, how they got from point A to point B with faith, right?
Got you.
It needs to be video.
Mm.
What was the third pillar?
Third pillar was Black creators.
Black creators. Okay. So you want to connect with Black creators because that's the kind of people that you want a part of the Repurpose Network, right?
Right.
Hashtag
Like
Black.
you.
Yeah.
Like you.
Yeah. Hashtag Black creators. Start
Mm.
engaging with them, right? Anybody who has hashtag that will pop up. Go out there, see what you like, see what you don't like, see who you think would be a potential candidate to partner with you, right? Engage with them. Do research on as many Black creators as you can that you think would fit the mold. Build relationships with them. And hashtag Black creatives when you're putting out that success, faith-based stories, when you're, cultivating those skits, because creators, we love to do creative things. So we want to see how you're doing creative things, why we should be a part of it. Is this funny? Is this actually educating? Do we,
Right.
That's how you find the Black creators creating something engaging like that. So the Black creatives is where you engage. The faith is where you talk about, I don't know, maybe you talk about failure to success, success to failure based on faith. And then you overarch it with the education and the fun.
Got you.
But definitely the first two pillars need to be video driven, because on Instagram and Facebook, video is proven to take off a little faster than a picture.
Got you. Got you. Well, this has been enlightening. This has been...
I'm glad. I like hanging out, talking about this stuff. I mean, we all got to help each other.
Yeah. And if you're listening out there, how can people get in contact with you?
People, you can get in contact with me at The Smooth Factor. My website is thesmoothfactor.com. If you're on Twitter, at The Smooth Factor. If you're on LinkedIn, search me at The Smooth Factor. Instagram at The Smooth Factor, across every platform, pretty much.
You see the word consistency. I'm looking around like somebody's around me. Like, see the word consistency, right? The people that behind me, the people that want me to ask them stupid questions, they round here somewhere.
Yeah, keep it consistent.
Keep it consistent. Okay,
it's a challenge. It's a challenge, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Listen.
It's a challenge. It takes
we
work.
Talk about this. We talk about this. Work. It's just, you got to make up your mind and make up your mind.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You just gotta,
because it's all always changing. Social media is always changing. When I first got started, it was MySpace, and then it was, there was Black Planet at one point, right? It was all kinds.
Remember
it was all kinds of stuff. Like now,
I remember Black Planet.
It's always changing. Like you gotta keep it consistent, because if Twitter goes down tomorrow, I need people to find me on somewhere else.
Correct.
So yeah. Correct. Anyways.
Correct.
Now we're gonna get on another topic.
You're right. So, all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know what we about to do, right? You know what we about to do, right?
Here we go.
30 seconds and gone. So these are true, false, yes, no questions.
All right.
Or whatever, however you want to do this. Question number 1. What is the food that you eat that creates the biggest mess?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. Okay. You only can pick one. If you're a hip hop head, Big Boy or 3 Stacks?
Ooh, 3 Stacks.
Okay. Favorite sneaker brand?
You always asking me this. I said Nike. It's definitely Nikes.
It's Nike?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If you had to rename LinkedIn, what would it be called?
The Connection.
The Connection. I thought you were going to say the Smooth Factor. Okay. You only can pick one.
All right.
Delta, JetBlue, American Airlines.
Ooh. American Airlines.
American Airlines it is. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs of all ages. This is my girl, Alesia Hedley. Came for part 2. We got a lot more.
Yeah.
We got a lot more. We're planning a quarterly uptick She is going to be the technology specialist, bringing all the news, what's happening new in the world. She's going to go to Infocom. She's probably going to be back right at the launch of the Repurpose Podcast Network. You heard it here first. This is the first time I've even said it. I'm excited about it and look forward for the information. So, like I always say, keep God first in everything you do. See you next time on the Church Sound Podcast. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, you be putting me on the spot.